moving along to discuss the organization?
You have a sheet, I think it's the very back, well, it is at the very last page of the SAC packet. I'm not sure if it's last one. Okay, and well, like the auditor's packet. And Kay Forsythe, the chief of the ADA, had called right after the election to say that one of the roles that she is required to play is that of at the organizational meeting of the initial board, that the director of the AEA serves in sort of the same capacity as or in a similar capacity to the board secretary in an organizational meeting where we're electing the officers and getting organized at the beginning of the year when we've got the election of those officers. And that's just spelled out in Iowa code. So she said, when do you think your boards will have each of them have their 2 representatives? Because she said, when those get together, I would moderate that session where they unanimously select their 5th member and would start that organizational meeting. I didn't hear from her for a few days, so I just emailed her. She was going to contact the AEA attorney, Rick Frank, because he's worked with lots of schools that have been in whole break sharing and reorganization situations. Because she said, I think he's going to know, he's going to have the information that we have to have. So we needed to agree on 2 things. Number 1 was the process, and then number 2 was the date by which the initial board needed to be organized, have their organizational meeting. Iowa code says that it's 45 days after the election, which would make it by March 19th. It could happen on March 19th, but it has to happen on March 19th or before. And then you can see what her reply to me was about what that procedure is. Just said that she finally connected with Rick. The procedure is that each of the 2 existing boards must identify the 2 directors that will be representing them on the new board. Then when we hold the organizational meeting, then the board will swear in those 4, and their first task will be to appoint the 5th director, which must be unanimous among those 4. If that person is present, they can then be sworn in and the board would be complete. The 5th director doesn't have to be someone from the 2 existing boards, but can be anyone who meets the requirements to run for the board, but they must be willing to serve. And then they can elect officers when the 5th board member has been appointed. Can do that even if they're not present. Once they get the officers elected and they take the oath, and the president takes over from Kay at that point. And if there's any other business on the agenda for that first initial meeting, they go on with that business. She did say, when I asked her the other day, that Rick said that it's very often it happens that the only business is to elect the officers, and there's no other business that night, because it's often held at a joint board meeting where the 2 boards come to the agreement of who their 2 board members will, and then it just goes into the second board meeting. So it was easier for me just to give you the email so you could see what she had written. So that's really the job coming up, is to get to that next stage of things where the initial board is in place and able to begin functioning if there's work that initially needs to be done. I did talk to her about dates that she's available. Let me find those. She's available Monday, February 22nd, Monday, March 1st, Wednesday, March 3rd, Thursday, March 11th, Tuesday, March 16th, and Wednesday, March 17th. There's some other dates that she could maybe work that she'd have to cancel out of something else in another district to meet this timeline. So she said if absolutely none of those work, that I need to get back to her tomorrow and let her know that. And somewhere I have some dates where she's out of the district or out of the state for some training for 4 days.
Is this something we could do like for half an hour before the 16th?
That meeting on the 16th is a 3-hour one for yeah, I mean, that's up to you guys, but
he'd like to not have any other business.
Well, if you did it,
Of course,
before,
we'd have to come earlier.
Yeah.
Did you set a time? Did you set a time for that meeting?
5:30 on the 16th.
But we haven't actually set our next board meeting, have we?
No. Well, the dates you listed, the 11th would be late enough into March, we could have our financials and bills done, I think. March 1st or something in February. I'm just thinking if we want to piggyback it with our regular joint meetings.
I'm not going to be in the district on the 11th.
Okay.
And I really wanted you to have that date, but I also want you to know that, and maybe that meeting can take place without my being present too. I don't want to stop the meeting, but I'm sort of disappointed that was the date she gave, because I was hoping that I didn't have to give it to you, and I thought, no, you still need to have that as a choice, even if I'm not.
I'm not be able to make the meetings.
The 22nd or the 1st?
22nd or the 1st.
Okay, so,
I can't either.
okay, so that sort of takes care of those two.
Another, first you have to decide who your people are going to be.
Well, that might be part of the process we needed to talk through is, are you thinking that we'll have a joint meeting, and at that joint meeting, each board will at that time determine who their two board members are?
Well, yeah, because I don't think anybody's even had a chance to
So
discuss it.
it's
So.
ours tonight.
The only thing I would say is Shannon's not here, and I really think it would make sense, wouldn't it, to have, I mean, that's my only thought.
That helps me make up my mind.
We had tentatively put the board meeting for March on the 8th. I know that's not a day that Kate gave us, but I can't be here that day.
Oh, you can.
What about the 3rd, March 3rd? I think
You could be gone.
I think I could back on
You could
the
get-
2nd. I can make it the 3rd. Yep. I take it.
Yes, I see March 3rd is one of the dates that she did.
Yeah, I
Are
can.
you looking at any tournaments and stuff like that?
There's nothing on this calendar.
That's the week of state basketball, but, I'm not saying that out loud.
That was our record.
Okay.
If we have our regular meeting on March 3rd, I mean, there'll be a lot of bills coming after that. We'll get you what we can get you, get the rest in April.
There's a pretty good chance we'll be safe on
March 3rd, we have our regular meeting.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I didn't say that's a Wednesday. We don't have meetings on Wednesday.
Oh. Okay.
Do we?
Typically
Want
not.
the ministers to come in here with?
Do you have youth group and we don't know about it?
Yeah, that doesn't work.
I know we catch it.
And we're talking about Lampson.
Oh, that's true.
Should we go to the 16th and try to meet early?
And the whole board, well,
I'm confused. Do we need, are we talking about a date for 4 people to 2 from each
Yeah.
board to get together and do the organizational meeting? Is that all we're?
So we really need to get those 4 people identified before we worry about the date.
That's what I'm wondering, if we don't need,
I thought we were looking for the meeting to appoint.
I thought we were-
I thought we
appoint
were looking
4
for the
people.
meeting to appoint them.
do we need Kate for that?
No,
Okay.
no, we don't need her. But then we'll have to turn around either the night late within a couple of days and have that second meeting. or-
With Kate.
With Kay,
Okay.
which could be, no, that's Wednesday night. It's not a day of March. That's a Wednesday night again then.
She said she was available on
5:30.
Wednesday, on 17th or 16th?
16th and the stuff.
Okay.